Algeria is the largest country in Africa, bigger than Greenland, and almost nobody talks about it as a travel destination. That's not an accident. Today, day 2 of our Country A to Z series, we're doing something different from Albania. This one isn't a simple sell. Algeria has real advantages and real problems. And we're covering both, no sugarcoating either side. Let's start with what makes this country genuinely extraordinary. 90% of Algeria is Sahara Desert, and deep in the south, around Tamanrasset and the Hoggar Mountains, you'll find some of the most dramatic desert landscapes on Earth, black volcanic rock formation, rising out of orange sand, sunrise over Assakrem that guide describe as one of the most beautiful views they've ever witnessed, and Tuareg culture that very few outsiders have ever experienced firsthand. This isn't a manufactured desert safari for tourists. This is the real thing, largely untouched. Then there's the history most people have never even heard of. Timgad, a Roman city built nearly 2,000 years ago, sits almost perfectly preserved on the scale of Pompeii. And most days, you'll have it nearly to yourself. Qal'a of Beni Hammad, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, tells the story of an entire medieval Islamic dynasty most people outside North Africa have simply never studied. Here's the number that surprises people most, though. Because tourism here is still so small, hospitality is genuinely exceptional. Multiple independent safety assessments describe locals as curious, protective of guests, and remarkably welcoming, precisely because visitors are still rare enough to be a novelty rather than a nuisance. And cost-wise, this is one of the cheapest serious travel destinations left. Street snacks can run as little as 10 cents. A full guided multi-day Sahara trek, tour and permits included, runs around 650 euros total. Even in the cities, day-to-day life feels more stable than most people assume. Algiers and Oran, the 2 largest cities, are generally described as secure for visitors going about normal daily activities. Restaurants, markets, walking around during the day, nothing like the image some people still carry in their heads from decades of outdated news coverage. So on paper, this sounds like an incredible, underrated destination. And in a lot of ways, it genuinely is. But before you start planning anything, there's a second half to this story, and it's the half most glossy travel content conveniently skips. Let's get into it. Here's the honest disadvantage list, and it starts before you even land. Getting a visa to Algeria is genuinely a hassle. A standard tourist visa typically takes 3 to 6 weeks to process, and you'll need to show clear ties to your home country and a defined return plan just to satisfy the application. This isn't a country you can decide to visit next month on a whim. If you want to visit the Sahara specifically, it's even more restrictive. Independent travel isn't an option. You're legally required to book through a licensed tour operator who arranges the permits for you. Once you're actually there, infrastructure is a real mixed bag. Outside major cities, public transportation becomes noticeably less developed and less reliable, which can complicate even a well-planned itinerary. Accommodation options thin out fast once you're off the beaten path. In some regions, you might genuinely struggle to find more than 1 or 2 decent places to stay. Safety is more nuanced than a simple yes or no. Major cities like Algiers and Oran are considered secure, but certain border regions carry real safety concerns tied to political instability. And this isn't a place where you want to freelance a route based on guesswork. You need current, reliable information before planning anything near those areas. Then there's the part that catches even well-meaning travelers completely off guard. Everyday cultural rules. Using your left hand for certain things, photographing buildings without permission, even drinking water outside in the wrong context. Small habits that feel completely normal back home can genuinely offend people or land you in real trouble here. This is a deeply conservative culture, and showing up without understanding those boundaries first is one of the fastest ways to have a bad experience. That has nothing to do with country itself and everything to do with preparation. And finally, the climate is genuinely extreme depending on where and when you go. Sahara heat in summer is brutal, and it's not the kind of heat you can just put through with a bottle of water and good intentions. Meanwhile, the mountainous regions can turn seriously cold. This is a country where checking the specific region and season matters far more than it does almost anywhere else on this list. Even something as simple as tap water needs real caution. Most guides recommend sticking to sealed bottled water the entire trip, no exceptions. No matter how confident a local restaurant seems about their own filtration, none of this means don't go. It means go in with your eyes open, which is exactly what this whole series is supposed to help with. Let's talk practical numbers before the verdict. Best time to visit is October through April, when temperatures across most of the country are far more manageable. Avoid peak Sahara summer entirely unless you genuinely know what you're preparing for. Peak tourist season, such as it is, tends to hit coastal beach areas from June through September. July and August specifically bring the biggest crowds, though crowded here still means genuinely quiet compared to almost anywhere in Europe. Budget-wise, Algeria can flex to almost any traveler. On the extreme low end, street food and local transport can run you just a few dollars a day in the cities. On the higher end, a proper multi-day guided Sahara expedition, permits, guide, camping gear, and transport included, lands around 650 euros total, which for the experience you're getting is remarkably reasonable compared to similar desert expeditions elsewhere in the world. So here's the real verdict. Positives and negatives weighed together, no spin. Algeria offers landscapes and history on par with far more famous, far more visited countries at a fraction of the crowds and cost. But it demands real preparation, a visa applied for well in advance, a licensed operator for anything in the Sahara, genuine research into current regional safety conditions, and real respect for cultural norms that are stricter than most. Western travelers are used to navigating. This is not a spontaneous weekend trip. It's a country for travelers who want something real and are willing to do the homework first. If Albania was undiscovered but easy, Algeria is undiscovered and genuinely demanding. And for a certain kind of traveler, that's exactly the appeal. That's day 2. Next up in the alphabet, we keep moving through every country on Earth, one honest episode at a time. If you want the real advantages and disadvantages of every country, not just the polished highlight reel, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss where we go next. One last fact before we close this one out. Algeria only opened up parts of its Sahara tourism infrastructure fairly recently, and local operators are already saying the same thing we heard about Albania, that this window of true, uncrowded access won't stay open forever as word slowly gets out.